Welcome back to Opera 101. Okay, Leanne and I are so excited about this episode's pairing. We watched this movie together and both love the opera, and there is so much to talk about between La Boheme and the movie Moonstruck from 1987, starring the fabulous Cher and Nicolas Cage, of course, and many others. There were so many resources about what we felt was the ultimate connection between this opera and this film, some of which we've sourced in our conversation.
And we were going to begin our Edmonton Opera 2021 season with a production of La Boheme. So now we are looking forward to bringing you that production in February of 2022. La Boheme, the Bohemian, is of course one of the most popular operas in the entire operatic repertoire. And it's based on a French book by Henri Murger called Scènes de la vie de Bohème, Scenes of the Bohemian Life, and tells the story of once again, a love affair between the poor poet, Rodolfo, and the equally poor seamstress, the soprano, Mimi. And it takes place in 19th century Paris, and we begin in their apartment, the apartment of Rodolfo and his friends, Marcello, Colline, Schaunard, and there's another stormy, passionate love affair between Marcello and Musetta, and we follow the lives of all of these characters until, of course, the tragic end when Mimi once again dies of
Consumption.
yes.
So in this movie, Italian-American widow Loretta is engaged to be married to Johnny. But she finds herself falling for his younger brother after she contacts him to invite him to the wedding. While Johnny is out of the country, Ronnie pursues her quite aggressively, and it seems in part due to his anger at having lost his hand in an accident that he actually blames on his brother. Loretta tries to resist, as we all do, but finds herself falling in love with him and also discovers that there's another affair happening in her own family.
Yeah, shocking. This is actually a really unique example of opera and film because the two are completely intertwined. And we're going to get scholarly for a moment here because there's a great article written by musicologist Marcia Citron, and she says the following: the opera's impact goes beyond the surface of the soundtrack and the plot. It saturates layers of narrative and representation in Moonstruck and shapes our perception of the characters and their view of their lives. She says, I'm especially interested in the opera's participation in the construction and expression of desire, that effusive quality that washes over the film like the big white moon. And she also says that Moonstruck aspires to the genre of opera film. And in the 1980s, there were actually two other prominent opera films that came into being, produced by two Italian directors. So Francesco Rosi produced Bizet's Carmen, and then the famous Franco Zeffirelli produced Verdi's Otello, both of which starred Placido Domingo. So opera film was a bit of a thing.
And another exciting thing about this movie is that Norman Jewison, who is a Canadian director and co-producer of the movie, affirmed this view of Moonstruck as an opera film when he said, I wanted the film to feel like an opera. I kept telling the actors that opera pervades this whole style. I said that it's all a little over the top. And I think that when something is over the top but still based in reality and depth because it's still based on people's experiences, this is how I believe people resonate with these characters, which is why we would squeal at every moment when the opera music would come in during a scene in the movie, and we just got more and more excited. So really, watch the clip, but if you just get a chance to watch the whole movie, it's fantastic. Because there are no less than 12 musical cues from La Boheme in the movie. Some of them are directly from the score, and then others are instrumental arrangements by Dick Hyman, who's a legendary American jazz pianist, composer, and arranger, who's been involved in creating dozens of film scores.
And those dozens of film scores, we've chosen 5 films that have opera in them, but there are so many more. And I actually just happened to watch one the other night. Maybe some of you have seen The Upside. I forget, it was about a 2012 or something movie. And it's about an opera fanatic who hires a caregiver and introduces him to the world of opera. And we hear a selection of opera's greatest hits through the movie: the Queen of the Night aria, Figaro's aria from Barber of Seville. It begins with Bellini's Casta Diva. And the young man who is the caregiver is actually not an opera lover, but an Aretha Franklin fan. So, at the end of the movie, we hear part of Aretha Franklin's performance at the 1998 Grammy Awards, where she stepped in for Pavarotti, who was not well, and she sang Nessun Dorma. And Kara and I listened to this clip again last night, and if you dare, you can find the recording on YouTube. And if you're Italian, you will cringe at her Italian. And if you're an opera lover, you might also cringe at her Celine Dion-esque interpretation of Puccini. Or perhaps just Aretha Franklin interpretation.
Yeah.
But it is quite the example of opera meets pop culture.
Yes, it is. It really is. Please, yes, watch that. And to continue this idea of cultural crossovers, when a story like this one of the Bohemians resonates with so many people, we see its influences in many different genres. Mouget's book also inspired Leoncavallo's opera of the same name that a lot of people have not heard of, the Broadway musical Rent, the film Moulin Rouge, a 1935 British film called Mimi, an MGM silent film of 1926 based on the opera, and an album by jazz pianist Dave Burrell, La Vie de Bohème.
But if we come back to the movie
Yes,
for a
okay.
minute,
Yes.
the scene in which Loretta and Ronnie attend a performance of La Bohème at the Met is a central event. And once again, we have Ronnie, who is Italian, and he's a passionate lover of opera, and he introduces it to Loretta. So this idea of introducing opera to somebody who may not know or appreciate opera yet comes up over and over again. So the duet that we will perform for you, O Soave Fanciulla, also appears in the movie at one of Loretta and Ronnie's most intimate moments, and then again when Ronnie is listening at his phonograph, which he often does, and Loretta is in the street.
And in the duet, Rodolfo and Mimi have just met each other and sung their introduction arias, as we sometimes call them. And in this duet, at the end of Act 1, they profess their love for each other. Because in opera, and really in this movie as well, you really can fall in love in an instant.
So once again, we are joined by tenor Andrea Pina for O Soave Fanciulla, the duet at the end of Act 1 from Puccini's La Bohème.
O soave fanciulla, o dolce viso di mite circonfuso alba lunar, in terra friso, il sogno vorrei sempre sognare.
aspettan gli amici.
già mi mandi via.
Vorrei dir, ma non oso. Se venissi con voi,
Credimi, sarebbe così dolce restar qui. C'è freddo fuori.
vi starò vicina.
E al ritorno
Curiosa,
dammi il braccio, mia piccina.
obbedì.